Welcome to the show we're in. News to share, where to begin. Free
Welcome back. I think it's time we uncover some of the more unexpected benefits of silence.
Okay.
Those that might not immediately spring to mind.
Mm.
We've been focusing a lot on mental and emotional aspects, but the audiobook also highlights this fascinating link between silence and physical health.
Now that you mention it, I do remember the audiobook touching on that.
Yeah,
It's always made sense to me that silence is good for de-stressing,
right.
but I never really considered the direct impact on our physical well-being.
Yeah, the science is pretty remarkable.
Okay.
The audiobook references studies that link the regular practice of silence to reduced inflammation, improved immune function, even a lower risk of heart disease.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Are you saying that simply by being quiet,
it seems so.
we can potentially boost our immune system and protect our hearts?
That's what the research suggests.
Wow.
It seems that when we're constantly bombarded with noise and stimulation,
Yeah.
our bodies are stuck in this state of chronic stress,
Right.
which leads to a cascade of negative effects,
Oh.
from increased inflammation to hormonal imbalances.
So it's like our bodies are always on high alert,
Exactly.
which takes a toll over time. So silence is like giving our systems a much-needed break,
Right.
allowing them to finally switch out of that fight or flight mode.
Precisely.
Okay.
Silence allows our bodies to shift into a state of rest and repair,
Uh-huh.
and that's when true healing can begin.
This is incredible. It really changes how I view silence.
Yeah,
It's not just a luxury.
right.
It's a necessity for overall well-being.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that our minds and bodies are intricately connected,
Yeah,
and that cultivating inner peace can have this ripple effect on our physical health.
I like that.
The audiobook also dives into the power of solitude,
Yeah.
something that feels particularly relevant in our hyper-connected world.
Right.
There's so much pressure to always be plugged in,
Yeah.
but the audiobook suggests that embracing solitude,
Okay.
especially in combination with silence, can be incredibly beneficial.
You're right. There's almost this stigma against being alone these days.
It's true.
But the audiobook seems to reframe solitude as a choice.
Yes.
A deliberate act of disconnecting from the external world to reconnect with ourselves.
Exactly. It's about creating space for self-reflection, for creativity, for simply being.
Yeah.
And when we pair solitude with silence, we create the ideal conditions for deep introspection and personal growth.
It's like giving ourselves permission to unplug,
Yes.
to step away from the demands of the world,
Right.
and tune into what our hearts are telling us.
It's a powerful form of self-care.
Yeah.
And the audiobook actually dedicates a whole section to silence as self-care,
Okay.
emphasizing that it's not just about escaping noise, it's about intentionally creating space for rejuvenation and reflection.
You know, in a world that's constantly shouting at us to go, go, go,
Right.
that idea of simply being is so powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
The audiobook argues that this radical act of self-care has these profound effects.
Okay.
It can help us reduce stress, make better decisions,
Right.
connect more deeply with ourselves and others, and ultimately live more fulfilling lives.
It's about prioritizing our well-being,
Yes.
both mental and physical, and recognizing that silence is an essential part of that equation.
Absolutely.
The audiobook also explores this concept of silence and letting go, which seems a bit paradoxical to me. How can silence help us let go of things?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is how silence creates this space for introspection,
Okay.
for recognizing what no longer serves us.
Right.
The audiobook suggests that by spending time in silence, we can start to identify those thoughts or beliefs or even relationships that are weighing us down.
It's like silence gives us the clarity to see what we need to release in order to move forward.
Right, precisely. It's about creating that internal space where we can detach from anything that's no longer aligned with our values or our goals or our truest selves.
It's about shedding those burdens that are holding us back from living our best lives.
Exactly.
And on that note, let's talk about conflict,
Okay.
something we all experience.
Right.
The audiobook has some surprising things to say about the role of silence in conflict resolution.
Interesting.
It seems counterintuitive to me.
Okay.
How can silence help when there's a disagreement?
Right.
Isn't it better to just talk things out?
Talking is important,
Yeah.
but the audiobook suggests that silence can be a powerful tool for de-escalating conflict
Okay.
and creating a more constructive dialogue.
Okay.
It's about resisting that urge to immediately react or defend or attack.
So it's about taking a step back, breathing, and creating space for understanding
Exactly.
instead of adding fuel to the fire.
Right.
We're giving the situation a chance to cool down.
Precisely. The audiobook explains that when we react impulsively, we often say things we don't mean,
Right.
which just escalates the situation.
Yeah.
Silence allows us to cool down, gather our thoughts,
Okay.
and respond more thoughtfully.
It allows us to listen more deeply to the other person's perspective
Right.
and try to understand where they're coming from.
And that's where true resolution begins. It's
Yeah.
not from defensiveness or anger,
Right.
but from a place of empathy and understanding.
It's amazing to me how many seemingly contradictory benefits silence offers.
It's true.
We've talked about how it can enhance both communication and solitude.
Right.
How it can be both relaxing and energizing.
Yeah.
How it can help us to both let go and connect more deeply with ourselves.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
What's so interesting is that silence isn't this one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's a versatile tool that we can use in a variety of ways,
Yeah.
depending on the situation and our individual needs.
It's about understanding the nuances of silence and how it can be applied to enrich our lives.
Exactly.
Now, another theme that seems to keep popping up
Okay.
is this idea of enhancing communication through silence.
Yeah.
We've talked about it in relationships and conflict resolution,
Right.
but it seems like it applies to everyday communication as well.
Absolutely. The audiobook makes a compelling case for the power of pauses in communication. It argues that silence can actually make our words more impactful, more meaningful.
It's like we're giving our words space to breathe,
Yes.
to really land with the listener.
Exactly. When we pause before speaking, we give ourselves time to choose our words carefully
Right.
and make sure that we're communicating what we truly intend,
Yeah.
and we give the listener time to process what we're saying.
It's about being intentional with our communication,
Yes.
both verbally and non-verbally, and recognizing that silence is just as important as the words themselves.
The audiobook highlights a fascinating example of this in action.
Okay.
It talks about how public speakers who master the art of the pause
Okay.
often have a more profound impact on their audiences.
That makes sense. Those well-placed moments of silence
Right.
create a sense of anticipation.
Yeah.
They draw the audience in
Uh,
and make the speaker's words even more impactful.
It's a subtle but powerful technique that anyone can use to improve their communication skills.
This whole conversation is blowing my mind.
It is pretty amazing.
Silence isn't just about being quiet.
Right.
It's about being present, mindful, and intentional in every aspect of our lives.
That's a fantastic summary of what we've explored so far.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the potential of silence as this catalyst for personal growth and transformation.
And that brings us to another key theme from the audiobook:
Okay.
silence and personal growth.
Yes. This is where silence becomes this pathway to self-discovery.
Okay.
The audiobook suggests that by creating space for quiet reflection,
Wow.
we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, our values, our motivations, our aspirations.
It's about connecting with our inner selves, with our intuition, with our truest desires.
Exactly.
And in doing so, we discover who we really are.
And from that place of self-awareness,
Yeah.
we can make choices that are more aligned with our authentic selves.
It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves.
Yes,
And it seems like silence is an essential part of that journey.
absolutely. The audiobook emphasizes that silence is a key ingredient in both self-discovery and personal growth.
You know, as we've been talking, I've realized that silence isn't about subtracting something from our lives. It's about adding something.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's about adding space, clarity, depth, meaning.
That's a beautiful way to frame it.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the richness and fullness that silence can bring to our lives. It's about allowing ourselves to experience the world in a different way, a more mindful way.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. I'm ready to embrace the power of silence in my own life.
I love that.
But before we wrap up, there's one more theme I want to touch on.
Okay.
Silence for a balanced life.
Yes.
It seems like this is where all the threads we've been discussing come together.
This is where we see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
How all these individual benefits of silence contribute to a more holistic sense of well-being.
Right.
The audiobook suggests that by consciously incorporating silence into our daily routines,
Okay.
we can create a more balanced and fulfilling life.
It's about finding that sweet spot between action and stillness, connection and solitude, noise and quiet.
Yeah, it's about embracing the ebb and flow of life.
Right.
And recognizing that silence isn't just an absence of something. It's a presence, a force, a source of power that can transform our lives.
It's about creating a life that's in harmony with our values, our goals, and our deepest desires.
Exactly.
A life that feels authentic and meaningful.
Precisely. And the audiobook emphasizes that silence is a crucial ingredient in that equation.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of this topic.
There's always more to discover.
Okay, let's take one last quick break.
Okay.
We'll be back with some final thoughts and a challenge for you, our listeners, in just a moment. Well, we're back, and this deep dive has really been eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be so excited about silence.
It is surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
The audiobook makes this really interesting point. That in a world that's constantly demanding our attention, maybe the greatest act of power, the greatest act of self-care, of growth, is choosing to be quiet.
That's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
But it also feels a bit daunting.
Yeah.
What are we even supposed to do with all this newfound appreciation for silence? How do we actually incorporate it into our lives?
I think that's where we move from understanding to action.
Okay.
The audiobook really encourages us to experiment with silence,
Okay.
find what resonates with us, and experience its effects firsthand.
Okay.
It's a personal journey, and there's no single right way to do it.
So we don't have to become silent monks overnight.
Not at all.
Okay, good.
Start small.
Okay.
It could be 5 minutes of meditation each morning,
Okay.
a quiet walk in nature, or simply putting your phone on Do Not Disturb for an hour each day.
It's about creating those pockets of silence, right?
Exactly.
Weaving them into our busy lives in a way that feels manageable.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe as we get more comfortable, we can gradually increase the amount of time we spend in silence.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
Right.
And making it a part of your routine,
Yeah.
not just a one-time experiment.
Okay.
The audiobook actually gives a great analogy for this.
Okay.
It talks about building a silence muscle.
Okay.
The more we practice being silent,
Uh-huh.
the easier it becomes.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes silence seem less like something we should be doing
Right.
and more like a skill we can develop,
Exactly.
like a way to strengthen our inner world.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe silence will become our secret weapon for navigating the chaos of modern life.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
The power of silence is available to all of us.
Right.
We just have to choose to tap into it.
I like that.
The audiobook leaves us with this final, thought-provoking question.
Okay.
In the quiet, what might you discover about yourself?
Wow, that
Yeah.
really resonates.
Yeah.
It's like an invitation to explore the depths of our own being.
It is.
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I think it's time for us to embrace the silence.
I agree.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the power of quiet.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights, and most importantly, some inspiration to cultivate more stillness in your own life.
Remember, in the quiet, you might just find the answers you've been searching for.
Welcome to the show we're in. News to share, where to begin. Free sides to every tale we tell. The truth is here, it's ringing bells.